can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Nintendo Switch 2. You've seen rumors, you've seen speculation, you've maybe even seen a few leaks. But what about dreams? The Nintendo Switch has been in our life for more than 7 years, so today I want to talk about our dreams for the next generation of Nintendo. This includes our hopes for the console, but also our hopes for games and other ideas that could happen over the course of the next Switch's life. Now, I have invited Adam from AdZ Gaming and Retrobution to join me in discussing our dreams. We've recorded them separately and in advance, so the other has no idea what we've been dreaming about. Adam, take me away.
First thing I want to talk about is the Nintendo Switch controller. So let me just take these. I brought loads of props here. So here are the Joy-Cons, yes? And when you're playing like this, firstly, you usually cover the Bluetooth thing so it starts to mess up. But even if you have the rails on, they're still quite uncomfortable to play. And I have relatively large hands. Here's a banana for scale, just in case anyone's wondering. Banana for scale of my hand size. And I struggle to play games on the Nintendo Switch a lot of the time. Specifically this analog stick, especially if you're playing in handheld mode, because as you can see, you know, the thumb gets a lot of work out there. Not very comfortable. And here's another prop that I brought this is what I want the controllers to look like. The PlayStation Portal, this device that a lot of people don't understand, but I absolutely adore it. And the main reason why I brought this with me here is because I want the Nintendo Switch 2 controllers to actually be a controller on the side. Now, you're probably looking at this like this is one fuse thing here, and you could, you know, you could conceive an idea where there's some rail that's connecting this here and you could still take it off, but you still have this part to hold on to. Because the fact that this is just a flat slate, there's just not much to grab, you know? And it gets crampy over time, and it just doesn't work very well, and that's my main complaint with the Nintendo Switch overall, if I'm being totally honest. So what I want, a controller more like this that actually has an actual controller, and not this like, you know, this flat thing. I mean, what can you do with this other than get a cramp in your hand?
Okay, so do you think the system is revealed, you see a picture of it, how quickly will you know if it's right or wrong? How confident in your abilities to ascertain that are you?
I think the second you look at the console, you will be able to figure out if the controllers are flat slates the way they are, or if they have a bit of a something to them. Even something like the Steam Deck. You know the way the Steam Deck has those little things jutting
grooves,
out? I just want something to hold, not something that is flat against my hand and my whole hand just like covers it up and you can't even see or feel the controller. Your hands are all like this, cramped because the analog sticks are tiny. I want something just a bit more meatier.
Okay, that analog stick comment, that resonates with me because you and I both know that there is a difference between that little short Joy-Con analog stick and a real controller analog stick. And some games you need that you cannot play any shooter with those little small sticks. It doesn't feel right. So yeah, no, I'm completely with you there. I think that we are both anticipating the Nintendo Switch 2 to have different kinds of Joy-Con, the Joy-Con to be radically redesigned. I don't imagine the Switch 1 Joy-Con, you'll be able to put them on the Switch 2. So, and I think we are also imagining the Switch 2 to be bigger, and you kind of think with a bigger console, you maybe need a better grip. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is any part of this that you want? You know how the Switch triggers are like just the buttons? Do you want them to be like triggers?
I don't have a problem with the buttons. I don't think they're that bad. Especially because like you're mostly not playing like Nintendo. You're not playing shooters on Nintendo consoles, so the triggers don't even mean that much.
Yeah.
And like I don't really care about haptics anymore. I've gone past that. You know, I turn off the haptics on the PS5 controller most of the time because it's just strenuous on your hands over time, especially if you're playing like a shooter. Like Borderlands 3 I played on the PS5 and my fingers were so sore after.
So really, this is more about the comfort and the feeling than it is anything else. It would make it in your hand such an immediate difference from the Switch 1 that you would not forget about. You would go, oh, this is an obvious improvement. And I think I like the idea of, you know how Switch 1, there's like all these different grips and little controller things, and that's like a whole third-party cottage industry. I would love if that just didn't exist. Or if we just didn't need it. If everybody was like, no, Switch 2, it feels good. Yeah. Oh, and you know what else? You know that little thing you can slot the Joy-Con into so it's a little controller?
Yeah.
What if that didn't suck?
Exactly. I should have actually brought that up in the video, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It's so close together.
so
they need
close,
to be,
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
because it didn't. I forget what company it was. They made one that's more ergonomic and it's kind of angular, so
Yeah.
you're holding it like that, and
Yeah.
it's a bit wider. But with that, you're sitting here like playing like this, and it's
Yeah,
I don't know, like made for. I understand this is a Nintendo console, but let's be real. We're the people that are playing it.
Yeah.
You know.
No, see,
Not
that's,
them
and that's
kids.
awesome. See, and I'm into
Yeah.
that. It's like you put those things on and it looks more or less like a pro controller. I think that'd be really
Yeah.
cool. It's like, oh, you have an actual controller. You don't have to buy a second, whatever. That's great. Okay, great. Great first stream. All right, I think we head back to Dream World. We check out my first stream. Hello and welcome to my dream. I want to tell you about my vision for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. When the next entry in this franchise is revealed for the Nintendo Switch 2, I want it to violently disturb the fans of Super Smash Bros. I want people to see it and go, oh no, this is not Smash. This is not my Smash. This is too different, too dramatic of a departure. Because here's what's going on, everybody. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, we've hit the peak. You could keep adding characters, adding stages to it, but I find that to be a little conservative, a little boring. That's not a dream. We can all imagine what more looks like for Super Smash Bros. I don't want more. I want reinvention. I want revolution. I want Super Smash Bros. To enter the 3D realm. I have more to say. Stay with me. Stay with me. Imagine now Link, instead of playing as this Smash Brothers version of Link that is evocative of a version of Link that you are familiar with, imagine you just kind of drop in Link from Tears of the Kingdom. You're seeing behind his shoulder, you're looking where he's looking. You're aiming bows, you're aiming boomerangs. You're looking around, you're taking in an environment the same way you do in the game that he is from. Imagine you are playing as Samus and you are aiming with your little arm cannon, you're running around, you're playing as Mario, you're using your ability to jump to hide around in the environment, go places other characters maybe cannot reach without a little bit more work. I think this is how you take something, you take a platformer combined with a fighter and you make it a 3D platformer combined with a fighter. I think this is how you make Super Smash Bros. Exciting again in a whole new way. Adam, is this desire for a new, different kind of Smash Brothers, does this resonate with you at all?
It does. It resonates with me quite a bit because as you started talking about this Smash Bros that could potentially be in a different perspective,
yes,
or whatever, I'm somebody who I enjoy the odd fighting game. In the past couple of years I've gotten into them, but I've never really enjoyed Smash. And one game that I actually did enjoy, and this is where my mind went to the second you said it could be on an open map or whatever like that, was Rumble Versus. Now, I only played that game for, a couple of sessions, but I could see within there that if I had characters that I cared about, I could potentially get into that game.
Okay.
So imagine Super Smash Bros. Royale, where you have these giant maps. You could have one that's Hyrule, or what you could do, which I think would be a really cool idea, which I just came up with here, is you have hybrid maps where you have Hyrule cross Metroid, and something has happened. You could have this weird sort of rift, multi-universe kind of thing where things have started to rift apart, and you could have Hyrule Castle in something to do with Metroid, and you have these combination levels, and you're running around. You pick a character, you get dropped in. There's 64 characters or whatever, all battling it out. And one thing that I just thought about there, Jake, and sometimes I think I'm a genius. Instead of showing, oh yeah, we can run this at 1080p, 60 FPS, they say, because of the Nintendo Switch 2's power, we can now have 32 or 64 characters on the one map, running around, having all this fun.
Bravo. Yes, bravo. Yes, I see the vision, Adam. I see the vision of this camera behind your shoulder. And you are not only are you brawling it out in a fully realized world. You are in the world in a way that you never could be in before. We have run the distance with these 2D stages with platforms on them. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. It's time for me to be able to hide behind a tree in a Smash Brothers game. And they go, where's Jake? Where's Jake? And I pop out and I go, here I am. And then like, that is an experience. I want to bottle that experience and I want it so bad. I want it so bad. I think it's time. Super Smash Brothers created the genre of the platform fighter. Now, modern times, we're in a whole new landscape. The platform fighter, you can find plenty of other platform fighters on the market. And I think everybody looks at Smash and they go, okay, bigger, bigger, bigger. It's time to Nintendo. I think it's time for Nintendo to swerve. And I think Sakurai maybe is sitting back there and he's going, I hit the peak with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. What can I do now? You know, we know he's been playing a lot of other games. He's been running his little YouTube channel. I think it's time. I think it's time to reinvent the wheel.
And the second point that I want to bring to the table is that I want the Nintendo Switch 2 dock to act similarly to a laptop charger. So let me explain. I have a Lenovo Legion 5 laptop. It's this big bulky thing. I bought it for editing. I do some gaming on it. And if I'm playing a game without it plugged in, it could be getting, let's say, 40, 50 FPS on the game, maybe 60 FPS, depending on the game. But bam, once you plug that in, I don't know, the charger does some magical stuff to all the components, boost them up, and then all of a sudden, instead of getting, say, 50 or 60 FPS, I'm getting 70 or 80 or 90 FPS. And it just boosts the overall power. And I would love if, this is a Nintendo Switch 2 for this example, I would love if the Nintendo Switch 2, you plop it straight into a dock, and all of a sudden, let's say this was running at 720p, 30 FPS. Now it's running at 1080p, 60 FPS. Now, do I think that would actually happen? I'm not really sure because I can't imagine Nintendo were going to focus on power. But I would love for this thing to be able to give me more performance when docked. Because if I'm being honest, over the past however many years, it's always been a drawback playing it in docked mode because every single game looks just kind of a bit crap in it or it actually runs worse. So I'm just sitting there like, oh, I don't want to play this in docked mode. Like once I got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I was playing the start of it on handheld. I was like, oh, this game looks kind of. And then I put it into the dock and I was like, oh, this game looks absolutely atrocious. So that's what I'm hoping for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, so obviously on the Switch 1, there is kind of this inherent ability, since it doesn't have to use power to display to a screen, it has a little bit of extra power, which is why when it outputs to the TV, maybe you've got better resolution on some games, things like that. But there is nothing in that dock, really. That's, you know, the dock's just a piece of plastic. It's just a video out. But in the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, you're saying you want to just have something built into the system where it gets a more significant, a more noticeable part of the deal is that you are getting a version of the game that is running a little bit better. And let me ask you this, how do you imagine that in this dream scenario being talked about or deployed? Is it this kind of thing where, like, we have some Switch 1 games that don't run super well, and you're like, the Switch 2 dock is the safety measure so that there is enough power to run whatever we need to run? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I just kind of see it as... See, Nintendo will never talk about specs. Like, they won't be like, oh, this is 720p 30. Let's pop it in here. This is 1080p 60, because they'll just never do that. But I can't even think of the word they would use, but I just want just more power. And I don't know how Nintendo packaged that. Yeah. And that was part of the point, is like, Jake, do you have any idea how Nintendo would package this as a sort of... Like, you can't go too granular with it and get too confusing, because even PlayStation gamers get confused by a lot of this stuff, and they're obviously a bit more, you know, hardcore in air quotes, if you want to put it in that. But all I want is simple 720p 30 on the Switch, pop it in, 1080p 60. And it's just like that. Like, and there's nothing too fancy about it, as in, you don't have... I would like to see options, but that's never going to happen. Maybe you could boost it so that you get more frame rate, or you boost it and you get more resolution, but that's not going to happen. But you just need a simple little handshake between the dock and the Switch. Yeah,
I think just to have a little prediction moment here, not quite a dream. I do think that it's exactly what you're saying. It's hard. How does Nintendo package that? Is such an interesting question, because I also cannot imagine them talking about their products in a way that, because you know what you're doing there, you're lifting behind the curtain, and it's They want you to see the performance, not the preparation, I think. And so I think about, okay, so what does that mean if you're talking about a system having better specs? I think what that means is that I could totally see them in a game, maybe busting out a better version of Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, pulling those games up and saying, look at the amount of detail we have in this, and actually like showing that. And saying because of this, it's like, oh yeah, that's in the game. Like they would never go into why that is the case, but they would say, look how this is different. I think I could see that. And then when we talk about like the difference between the dock and the handheld, I think is so difficult because I don't think they would ever want you, the consumer, to think that there's a noticeable or material or meaningful difference in the game between its handheld and its on TV forms. I think they want to sell you that those are the same game. So that's difficult, and I do think that is something that maybe we all just know is the case, but nobody says anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that there is a world though in which the dock has such a noticeable improvement on the games that maybe even if you're playing it handheld in close proximity to the dock, there's a bit of a Wii U situation going on.
Oh, and
you're really just streaming the game to your handheld, while that dock that's plugged in right there is doing all the work. Off TV play, they used to call that, Adam.
That is a very good point, Jake.
So then you have the power of the console experiencing that in your handheld when you are in your home near your dock, like with the Wii U.
But then it removes, you can't play it on the toilet.
Well, it depends how far they're willing to push that technology. But you could always just play the game in its normal handheld mode. I am simply suggesting that there is a way. There is a way that they could.
There is.
Yeah, there is a way that you could have that console power in the handheld, not necessarily playing it attached to your television. There is a way. So just to grow that little, just to water that dream a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hello. Welcome back to the land of my dreams. I want to tell you a little bit about something I really enjoy, about my PlayStation 5. Sometimes I go on there and I see my friends list. I see that my buddy's playing Destiny 2 something. I don't know. I want to play some multiverses. Press on his little name. Send him a party invite. We talk. We're playing these passive games. You know what I mean? Games where it's not all about like thinking about everything that's coming at you. It's just something to do. Just hanging out. Maybe playing a little Fortnite. I don't know. But I love just kind of catching up with my friends through the old video game console while we're doing something. As somebody that grew up in society, as a man, I have been sociologically conditioned to, picking up the phone, calling my other male friends just to catch up, just to talk about our feelings. I've been made to feel that is something I shouldn't or couldn't do. But when I see them online on a video game console and we're each playing our own individual games, there's a certain freedom there, I would say. And I dream to have that kind of freedom on the Nintendo Switch too. Adam, is there any chance? Is there any hope?
I do think there is a hope. I mean, I think we saw Nintendo, venture into that a bit with, picking up your phone and, connecting your headphones and inviting your friends through that. And that was one of the worst systems I've ever seen in my life. So they were obviously interested in.
That's the thing though, but it signals. It signals that they knew there was a desire for that.
Yes. And I think there will always be a desire for that because, Jake, I wonder, and I think this is probably the way to do it.
Okay.
All the other consoles are starting to link with Discord. So do we see a Discord app on the Nintendo Switch 2? Or, if not, at the very least, you can somehow link your Switch to your phone with Discord and have it work through that sort of a system, which is a way better system than using Nintendo's own proprietary whatever that was.
I think what it comes down to is my dream. And my dream is I want to see somebody is online on my Nintendo Switch friends list. I want to play Smash Brothers and I want to talk to them while they are playing whatever other game. That is it. And I don't care. I do not care how they do it. I find the fact that now I'm going to get called a fake gamer in the comments. People aren't going to like this, but I find that the degree to which I'm closed off in the Nintendo Switch environment sometimes turns me off from playing the console.
Yes, I get that as well, because I think even though it's small, and I don't really use party chats too often on the PlayStation, I still feel like there's almost a sense of community there where at the very least I'm comparing my trophies with my friends. I'm seeing what games my friends are playing. Whereas with the Switch, it's so out of the way.
Yes.
I have to minimize the game, click into the tiny little icon up the left, and then it shows me my friends that are online. And then to even see anything about them, I have to then click into their thing. It takes a while to load, and all it shows me is how many hours they have in games, and that's it. Whereas if I do that on PlayStation, it compares our trophy lists, it compares how many hours we've played. Like, there's just so much more integration there.
And I think something that I think that this would be a bigger deal for people that play games on Switch than that audience even realizes right now. Because the truth is, I have a lot of friends who are not like serious gamers, who are just like casual gaming people who have a Nintendo Switch. And I can totally see that being online, talking with me. I have friends who I basically only ever talk to because we see each other online on PlayStation 5 and we just like send a party chat and we just like talk. And sometimes that leads to us like playing a game together or something. And I think that Nintendo is missing something here with this kind of like millennial and older video game player that could be talking to some of these casual people while they're online, catching up with friends and turning them into potential buyers of games that maybe they wouldn't have played otherwise. And with more and more games on the Nintendo platform that are online focused, Smash Brothers, Splatoon, Mario Kart, I think we all assume that these will continue to be online focused games. And even with the availability of games like Fortnite, which I actually think you can voice chat on Nintendo Switch. I think that they have that figured out on their end. But with those kinds of games on this platform, I think it just behooves them more and more and more to have a party system. And I don't care about this whole thing about Nintendo's worried about the kids, Nintendo's worried. That made sense 10, 12, 15 years ago. Now with the phones and social media and just the platforms available, it doesn't make sense anymore. It's a stupid thing to say. I don't think it makes sense. I think that's an old excuse that people trot out every time this conversation comes out. So, yeah.
And Jake, think of what crap is on the Nintendo Switch eShop all day, every day. All it is, whatever, bubble burst games where the people become more and more naked as you go along. And Nintendo very clearly don't care about it.
Yeah.
And I like the point you brought up there about how you can get casual players into playing different games because I don't know, like the amount of times I was playing a multiplayer game with my friends that typically only play multiplayer games, and they're like, oh, what are you playing now? Or, oh, like I'll be in the middle of a mission in a single player game and they'll ask me, oh, you're hopping on whatever game we were playing, like Fortnite or whatever. And then I'd say, yeah, just let me finish this mission up. And then they'd be like, oh, what game are you playing? And then I tell them about it. And then they'd be like, oh, that kind of sounds a bit interesting. And it's probably a game they would have never heard of before. So I like that point. The next one on the list is something that I don't think will be very popular. And I want Nintendo to lean more into the online infrastructure of Nintendo games. So let's take it back to when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out on the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, that game sold an insane amount of copies. I think on my Switch, I could have 60 or 70 hours in that game. And a lot of that was put probably within the first 6 months of the game. And the thing is I was absolutely loving playing Mario Kart 8 online. And then eventually after however many, I'd say 40, 50 hours, I was like, all these same tracks, all these boring same tracks that I've just raced 700 million times. What I would like to see here is that Nintendo make Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart X or whatever we're talking about, but they really lean into the live service model. Oh, the scary word that nobody likes. But Mario Kart 8 got a content rollout near the end, and I would have loved if from, say, 6 months or a year after the game came out, it constantly got a rollout of new characters, new tracks, new carts. And then I could have kept playing it because it's kind of like once I stopped playing Mario Kart 8, and then what was it, 2 or 3, no, even more years later, God knows how many years later, 5 years later, they start releasing all of these extra tracks. I was already kind of done with it. But if they had released them consistently since the game came out, I probably would still be playing it, and I would have hundreds of hours in that game.
Adam, this dream speaks to me. And I find it to be brave and bold for you to voice this. You and I, of course, both fans of the living game.
Yes.
And part of the living game, something you need these days, is something that people are already attached to. And what are people attached to more than Nintendo IP? Where is the marriage? Do you have... So Mario Kart's in the mix. Do you see any other potential living game franchises that you think would make that match well?
I do, Jake, but that would spoil my next stream.
Then we'll hold.
We'll just stick to Splatoon, and we'll stick to Mario Kart, and we'll stick to Super Smash Bros.
Lovely.
I don't think the games need to be that much different.
Yeah.
I don't think they even need to have sort of skins that you buy.
Yeah.
You know, they can all be unlocked. But I would like to see battle passes.
Me too.
I like battle passes.
Yeah.
Battle passes are a great way to keep people going. And let's say they do the typical thing where you buy your first battle pass, and then in that battle pass you earn enough currency to then buy the next battle pass. So,
yes.
You know, a battle pass will only cost you, what, $10, $15?
Sure.
And then if you play the game, you'll be able to just keep getting it. So it's not even like they're trying to rob a load of money off you. And then all they need to do is have, if we're taking Mario Kart 8, for example, have it so that you get every 3 months, you get 8 new tracks, 3 new characters, 3 new vehicles and whatever, gliders and wheels or whatever the new gimmick is. And then it just keeps you coming back in a consistent manner, so you will always be playing the multiplayer. Because, as I said, I had 60, 70 hours in Mario Kart 8, but if they brought the booster packs out before and had them rolling out in a more consistent fashion, by the end of the Switch's life cycle, I could easily have 300-400 hours in Mario Kart 8, and it's kind of the same with Splatoon. I think Splatoon does a good job at rolling out content, but actually playing multiplayer in Splatoon is really crap because loading into lobbies is awful. And I think if you want Nintendo to lean more into this multiplayer thing, I think they need to work out the system of actually getting you into the multiplayer games, because Splatoon is just, there's just so much crap in the way of having fun in Splatoon. And even the menus in Mario Kart 8 are just kind of, you know, just a bit. There's not really anything fun about the actual menus.
Yeah, I think for me, the aspect that I enjoy, and I think you're similar with the Battle Pass thing, is that I like that feeling of always chipping away at something. Of every time I play, every match has a little bit of in-game value associated with it that is... And I know like there's like a puritanical gamer perspective that's like the value is the fun you have. And I'm like, yeah, that's there. That's there. We know that they do that. But there's always like supplemental stuff that I would love to see added with Smash Brothers, for instance, where I really like how Multiverses does their battle passes right now, where you buy the battle pass and you immediately get access to the new character for that season. So like right now, it's the Powerpuff Girls. You buy the Battle Pass, you get the Powerpuff Girls, and the last stage of the Battle Pass is a special costume for the Powerpuff Girls. But all in between there, costumes for other characters, special taunts, little customization things for your profile banner, stuff like that. I would love every couple of months, there's a new season of Smash Brothers themed after something, and you're getting little costumes for your little idiots. You know what I'm saying? It's like Halloween. It's like, oh, you can get the Mario's wearing a pumpkin head. It's like I would log in, play my online Smash to get to that little Mario pumpkin head. 100% I would. Like, man, that would just be so fun. And I think like I love playing Smash. I log on all the time just to have fun. I want that feeling of community, that we all know that a party is being thrown. Something is going on. There's a reason for us to come here. Splatoon already does this with the Splatfest, but the reason to come is to compete. It is for which team is going to win. And that only gets you so far, especially when Japan is deciding who wins every time. So it's so there I like this personal level that you're going in because you are going to earn something. I think that kind of thing's really fun.
And speaking of multiplayer, the next point that I want to make is that I want Nintendo to make, wait for it, a hero shooter. And I know, boo, no, microtransactions, hero shooter, we're all bored of hero shooters. I love hero shooters. And unfortunately, most games that are hero shooters fail because they just cannot do anything even remotely as good as Overwatch. But what company could do it? Well, Valve could probably do it, and they kind of are with Deadlock, but I think Nintendo could also do it. And I envision this as a spin-off to the Smash Bros. Series. And the working title is going to be called Super Shoot Bros. Now, you know, we can work on that as we go along. But I could see this as something similar to, let's say, Marvel Rivals, because Marvel Rivals has this combination of heroes that probably should be melee heroes and then ranged heroes. It's all third person, and somehow it just works. So I would love to see Nintendo do this, because I could already see how these characters could work. Link, he could be a Doomfist style hero where he has a shield, he has a sword, his whole thing is getting in and out, maybe placing a couple of traps. Maybe his ult is him jumping up into the air with a bow and shooting everyone like you do in Breath of the Wild. Or maybe his ult is using all of the abilities from Breath of the Wild. Or maybe even the Ultra Hand and doing something crazy like that. But I don't know how that would work in a multiplayer game. I could see Mario being this get in, get out DPS style character where his whole kit is running in, uppercutting people up into the air, shooting them with fireballs, and then getting out before he dies. I mean, Donkey Kong just writes himself. He's a big tank. He runs in, he smacks the ground, he beats his chest to get like extra armor or something, and then he jumps back out. And if we're sticking with Mario, you can have piranha plants that the whole goal is to like leave loads of little plants around, and the plants do different things like freeze people, deal damage to them. Then you can have like Rosalina, and she is a mage kind of character that stays off at a distance, maybe throws Lumas in to heal people and deal damage. There's just an infinite. You could go through the whole Super Smash Bros. Roster. You can make a whole video about this, about adapting their movesets into a hero shooter. And the thing is, for me, is that as somebody who wants to celebrate the heritage of different platforms like Nintendo and Sony, when they're given to me in a form that I don't really like, I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about them. I don't really care about Super Smash Bros. I'm just not a fighting fan, and I never understood the hype around. Well, I understand the hype around it, but, you know, I never really cared about it. But now with Astro Bot, I have a 3D platformer, which is one of my favorite genres of all time, and I can celebrate PlayStation's heritage through there. And what I would love to do is to be able to celebrate Nintendo's heritage through a hero shooter. And I would like to know what people think about that, because I don't think many people would want that.
This is good stuff, because you know what this does? This activates the exact same hype that people have for Smash Brothers character reveals, but adjusts it in a new way. Yeah. And you can hit all of those beats again. Every reveal that it would be boring for Smash is exciting again. Revealing Donkey Kong, exciting. Revealing Yoshi, exciting. Kirby, exciting. So, man, this would be really cool. Now I'm starting to get practical, and I'm starting to think, would like, who would develop this game? What would it look like? Like, which do I feel that anybody has this in them? And because I think about like Pokemon, what is it called? Pokemon Unite, and how that was like an unusual kind of genre for that company to go into, but it makes sense based on who they're working with and like which market they're trying to capture. And I wonder if like there is a desire at Nintendo after the rabid success of Splatoon to say, hey, maybe we've got something. Maybe like there is some internal enthusiasm with games that more closely resemble shooting franchises. I assume this is a full-priced Nintendo game, normal, like totally whatever, yeah.
Yep.
Do you imagine... I feel in these Nintendo online games, even if they are online focused, that there has to be a single player component. There has to be something that you can do on your own. Do you imagine in a Nintendo Mario hero shooter game that there is some kind of PvE main mode? Because I know these hero shooters are mostly PvP focused, but now if we apply maybe Nintendo thinking to it, is there a way that we could change that genre? And now it's more of a PvE game. It's more of a game about being cooperative than it is about being competitive. I could totally see them doing that. It's like, because imagine, like, you've got all these different Nintendo villains. You've got, like, maybe, like, you know, there's different levels. It's like a Bowser level, and you've got, like, Bowser's minions are coming at you, and it maybe plays or looks more like an action MOBA in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you could take a lot of similarities from hero shooters and MOBAs. So I think
Yeah.
this game could be a MOBA or a hero shooter. I just prefer hero shooters.
Yeah.
And I
yeah.
guess the only real, like, if you want to go boring with it, the sort of easiest thing to do with the PvE stuff is to have wave-based game modes where
Which I don't hate.
You do have a Bowser level.
Yeah.
And he drops in Goombas, tier 1 Goombas, and then eventually you get the flying Goombas, and
Cool.
you get the Koopas and the flying Koopas and all that bullet bills. And you could get really, you could. The thing is with all of this stuff is if you are the guy with the monocle, you have your top hat on, and you're like, oh, I want loads of money. You have an infinite amount of seasons to make.
Yeah.
Because
correct.
even
yeah.
if you just take a single franchise,
Yeah.
you could have, this is the season of Ocarina of Time.
Right.
And then you say, you go through a couple of other games, and a year and a half later, this is the season of Skyward Sword. And
Wow.
like you can just constantly reiterate
Yeah.
and just constantly release stuff, and then you print money, because guess what, Jake? I will be there day one buying absolutely every single battle pass and every single new character that comes to that game.
They could even do it's a Fire Emblem season, and I will regretfully pay full price. I will go, yeah, gotta have it.
No, Jake, you lost me there. Goodbye.
You're not
We'll
in?
give you another guy with a sword.
What about Xenoblade? They do a Xenoblade season.
Oh yeah, Xenoblade.
You're
yeah,
in?
Give me that. Oh yeah, all day, every day.
They do Star Fox. Are you in?
Eh. I'm not out, but I'm not in.
Wow. Xenoblade over Star Fox.
Oh, every single day of the week, yes.
All right.
The best Star Fox game is Starlink Battle for Atlas.
What was your name for this game? What was your name?
Super Shoot Bros.
I'm gonna need the comments to maybe do better. Because that's awful.
Jake, these are work in progress titles.
Yeah.
These-
Okay. All right.
I'm an ideas guy.
Yeah,
That's all I
all
am.
right, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If anybody has a good name for this, please drop that in the comments. Dear God. Ooh, you know who I would like in this hero shooter? I would like a Pikmin guy, like an Olimar.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. You could send his Pikmin out to do different things. You're just like running around the battlefield. You're like, oh, get that, it attaches to
Yeah,
somebody.
he could be
Oh,
like a perfect sort of support character.
Yeah.
Where he's all about buffing and debuffing people. And I had like this amazing. I said earlier that Donkey Kong could be a tank.
Yeah.
But he could also be a support character, where all of his stuff is to do with the bongos and playing different songs as he goes along. And even though he's a big bulky boy, he's still out there healing and buffing his character. It's just Nintendo, hire me, please. I'm unemployed.
God, it'd be
Please.
so fun. It would be so fun. It would,
Yep.
All right. Because I think with my Smash Brothers idea and this idea, we're kind of trying to hit on this same, like 1 second moment in the game, which is this feeling of freedom, this feeling of you are this character in this world and you have a range of abilities, and how you choose to use them is like, it's a realization of inhabiting a Nintendo character in a way that we don't get too often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, let me hit you with my next stream. Everyone knows that a new Nintendo console will bring its fair share of Pokemon games. Pokemon games are unavoidable on the Nintendo Switch 2. But every generation also brings their fair share of Pokemon spin-offs. Okay, put the main games aside. What I want is finally for a Pokemon game to capture the feeling of being in the anime. I want to yell out, dodge that, and have my Pokemon dodge it. I want to use creativity in movement in the battlefield. I want to see things happening live, and the only way I can see this happening is that I just need a spin-off that's an action game. And listen, don't look at me and say, but Jake, you have Pokken. They can fight each other in Pokken. No. I'm not looking for a fighting game. I want an action combat Pokemon RPG. I want to be training with my Pokemon. I want to be leveling them up. I want to be teaching them new moves. I want to be battling gyms. I just want something that looks like a Pokemon game, but I'm in the driver's seat.
That is all you need, Jake, because recently I played Visions of Mana, okay?
Yes.
That game is not very fun.
Yes.
It looks flashy,
Yes.
but it's just kind of boring and bland.
Yes.
But if you gave me a game that looked like Visions of Mana,
Yes.
and it was the exact same game, but it was set in the Pokemon universe, and it was fairly easy because it is a basic kids action RPG, maybe baby's first action RPG. But if you gave me that, and I was Chimchar, or I was Lucario, or Turtwig, or Piplup, you can see I like Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum.
Right.
But if I could just inhabit a Chimchar and use Ember on a character, because when we played Legends Arceus, there was something cool about just being a character in a world that wasn't just only there to walk. I could
Yes.
actually do something.
Yes.
And we haven't had anything since, and I hope Game Freak will give us something similar soon.
Let me tell you about the 30th anniversary. It's coming up, 2026. I think we've already gone back to Kanto in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. That's a very, getting that bottom age group of players, trying to take in the casuals, easy to control, easy to play, not a lot of friction. But I do think for the 30th anniversary, going back to Kanto for the nostalgia is going to be important. What if it is a remake of the Generation 1 Pokemon games, Red and Blue? Limited roster, not that many Pokemon, smallest amount of Pokemon you could imagine, but it's action combat. You throw out the Pokeball, you are Pikachu, you are jumping around, you attack the sprinklers when you're fighting Brock in the gym. You know what I'm saying? And I just have wanted, so I think where I'm coming from with this is that I've wanted a Pokemon game like this my whole life. And I hate when people are like, oh, but that's Pokken. No, it's not. No, it's not.
No.
Pokken is a fighting game. Pokken is a fighting game. You cannot train your Pokemon. You cannot learn new moves. You cannot evolve. You cannot do any of this. It is not a Pokemon game. It is a fighting game featuring Pokemon. I've wanted this my whole life, and the only reason I think that there is a chance is because I've wanted an open world Pokemon game my whole life too. There was a time when I used to imagine a game where you could see Pokemon in the overworld. That used to be a far off dream. We have crossed that threshold.
Yep.
Anything is possible. I think they're looking for more and more ways to make these games stand out from one another, to make these games promise something new, a new kind of Pokemon experience, especially since I think we're anticipating that the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with the Switch 1, which means all of these Pokemon games that are already on the Switch, they're already playable. How do you make something different? Listen, I don't know if they're going to make another Pokken, but maybe they could make an action Pokemon game. Like, man, I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I wonder, Jake, if so in this world,
Yeah.
this is a true Pokemon game. You are still controlling the trainer as you walk around, but in the battles you control the Pokemon?
That's right. It's like, imagine Legends Arceus, and once you throw that Pokeball, your perspective goes into the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about if you... See, when you said it, I was expecting something a bit more. You go back to the primitive days of Pokemon, where trainers aren't around and you are the Pokemon. So we're talking not exactly Mystery Dungeon, but
Adam,
an
this is a
evolution.
good idea. This is a
An
good
evolution
idea.
on what Mystery Dungeon is. Like, you are the Pokemon, and you recruit friends to your party, and it is an open world, and you're running around. And what I envision, Jake,
Yeah.
is that could this be a
Oh my God.
new iteration of Pokemon Rumble?
Yes. Adam, this could be so many things. This could be so many. Now you've just split my head wide open
Yeah.
with this because this solves a lot of problems. A mystery dungeon game, for 99% of it, you play as one Pokemon. That attack, you can make a limit. It's, man. Okay, so now what I'm imagining is it is a mystery dungeon game. It is an action Pokemon style, and it is a fusion of Mystery Dungeon and Dark Souls. Okay, and now it is a Pokemon. Yes. And so just imagine this. Because when I say Dark Souls, I don't mean it's like really tough or it has like FromSoft mechanics. What I'm imagining is this idea of, I think part of like the Elden Ring modern day success is that it is a perfect streaming game. It is a game requires no context. You jump in, the stakes are high, you see somebody use their skills to defeat an opponent. Pokemon could have this. Pokemon could have this where you are playing as a little Pikachu, you're going through the dungeon, and at the end, there's a legendary Pokemon boss that you have to beat. There is no reason that they could not have a game like this.
Yep.
Damn.
And imagine the streams and the videos and the moment. Imagine this, Jake. You are now level 65.
Yeah.
You have, let's say you have a party of 4 Pokemon that you can swap out at any given time in a battle. And you have your all different elemental weaknesses and strengths, and you're fighting. And you are climbing up a mountain. And at the top of that mountain is a Dialga or a Palkia or whoever, Ho-Oh, Lugia, whoever you want, and he is the final boss. And I'm not saying it needs to be as difficult as something like Dark Souls, but it gives you that feeling of, oh, remember that final boss in Elden Ring where everyone was, you're climbing up this and then you finally get to the boss arena and it's all this big crazy spectacle, but instead you're fighting a Lugia or whoever it is.
No, this is now my number one dream. This is now I'm gonna become insufferable. I'm gonna ask for this so much. I'm gonna be insufferable for the next 7 years.
Yeah,
oh my God.
And the thing is, Jake,
Yeah.
it is strange how in tune we were with all of our sort of dreams that we have, because
Yeah.
my next dream is gonna be very similar to your one that you
Roll
just
the
had.
dream! Roll the dream!
And the final thing that I want to bring to this video is that I want Elden Ring to be a launch title. Now, that actually isn't my point. I just wanted to get that in there because I do really want Elden Ring to be a launch title. But when I think of the Switch, there's one game that comes to mind for me, and it's Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. And it's because it was one of them games that just came out of nowhere. It was Ubisoft mixed with Nintendo. It was a tactical RPG kind of game. It was amazing. I couldn't believe how good it was. And the second one was even better, even though not that many people agree. And I would love to see a game like that. Now, do I have any ideas that will actually come true? No, I don't. I have this one that is so crazy that if this game ever did release, pigs would fly. And that is Zelda Ring. That's the work in progress title. It is Breath of the Wild mixed with Elden Ring. It's made by From Software. Nintendo give the Zelda license to From Software to make a full Souls-like set in the Zelda universe. I think there is no better match made in heaven, because specifically with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, I think they share a lot of sort of narrative points. Dark world that you are slowly but surely uncovering. The game doesn't exactly tell you everything you need to know. A lot of it's put together. And I mean, Zelda is similar. And I mean, the rest of Zelda is like that as well. There's a lot of fan theories and timelines and all that stuff. And I think that sort of narrative design of FromSoft and the world of Zelda would just click so well. And then if you just gave me Breath of the Wild, but instead of I love Breath of the Wild, I love Tears of the Kingdom, but if you just gave me them games where instead of puzzles, you gave me really hard combat sections and I got to play as Link in them, it would be the best game ever created. I couldn't care if the game ran at 5 frames a second. I would absolutely adore it. Please, Miyazaki, listen to this video. Bring me on board as a producer and we can make the greatest game ever created. So there we go, future Jake, future Adam, and current people watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my points, and let me know if you think I'm crazy, because let's be real, the majority of these aren't going to come true. Like a magic man.
I love this. Okay. So here's what I see for this. Here's what I see. I see that in the Switch 2 reveal or shortly thereafter, we talk about how Elden Ring is coming to Switch 2. That is like the Skyrim, for this console. And then it's like, oh man, Nintendo and FromSoft, they've actually been working together, dude. They've actually got a little partnership. Remember when FromSoft worked with Sony and they made Bloodborne? Well, now they're working with Nintendo, and they're making a freaking Zelda game because Nintendo wants Zelda to be a yearly franchise in the lead up to the movie. And so they need other people to be making these games. We've already got Echoes of Wisdom coming from those people. So
I know they made another game. I can't think of it right now.
Grezzo?
Yes, what? Yeah, I know they made another game, but I can't think. What was it?
So I think we're gonna want to fill out the schedule with some Zelda games. We're gonna want to get more. Nintendo comes out and says we've got this partnership with FromSoft. We've worked with outside Nintendo developers before on Zelda specifically. This is no different, but this one, big scope, big game. We're giving them the reins. They're one of the most respected developers in the world right now. Man. I gotta tell you, that announcement would be industry shaking. Industry shaking.
Oh, yeah. It's one of them, like, it is literally the most pie in the sky thing that I could have thought for this, because if you know me and you've maybe watched my channel, Elden Ring is my favorite game of all time. Before that, it was Majora's Mask, and Zelda or Ratchet and Clank, depending on the day, are my favorite franchises of all time. And I just think, as I said, there's just so many parallels you can draw from what From Software do with Elden Ring and what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild. And I genuinely couldn't think, like, as I was making it, trying to come up with a spin-off for an already established Zelda or Nintendo franchise. Yeah. I was just trying to think, could we have, like, maybe this RPG, or maybe a platformer, or maybe a new racing game, or maybe this. But Nintendo, have Nintendo ever made anything like a Souls game?
No.
Like, they've made other strategy games, like they did, like, obviously Mario plus Rabbids was all this ground shaking stuff, but they still did Fire Emblem before that. If you give a franchise to a racing team, they've already done Mario Kart.
Yeah, the closest you get is like a Metroid game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, Miyazaki, I'm just an ideas man.
I gotta tell you, I think that this really works because not only does it feed something that is not in Nintendo's current slate of games, I think what it also does is it gives FromSoft a very good excuse to have a maybe more vibrant and colorful world, to have something that is a little lighter than what they typically do. And I think a lot of, like, having the Goron, the Zora, having like these different character, these kinds of things infiltrate a FromSoft game, I think it could really heighten that world and heighten something that is missing for players that maybe have not taken the dive into that company's games yet. I think it would bring people in while still, like, everybody that played Elden Ring would play this game plus more.
Yep.
So,
like, this is if not
damn,
that this
is
would
such
happen.
a good idea. This is such a good idea. Yeah.
I genuinely think, like, this is a 35-40 million seller.
Yeah, this would be if this game
like,
got
Elden
made,
Ring is like 25 million. What was Breath of the Wild?
Very big. Yeah,
30 million or something.
Yeah.
I think you combine the two. There you go.
Man, I'm glad that, okay, wow. That was beautiful. And that is going to do it for our Nintendo Switch dreams. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you want to check out Adam's channel, look at Adam's videos, you can find links to that in the description below. But otherwise, of course, get in the comments, tell me what it is you're dreaming about. I know we're all thinking about the machine, what the console is going to be like, but the games, that life, the next decade of video games, we're all going to be different. We're all going to be different by the time we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 3. So over the course of this long life that we're anticipating for the next Nintendo console, what are you dreaming about? Let me know.